fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Voyager class Combaticon Swindle from the Transformers Age of the Primes line from Hasbro. This is our final Combaticon, and I'm very excited to finally be able to fully form Bruticus. So far, you've been able to kind of use the frame, but we've had kind of one hollow leg, so Swindle will take care of that. You can see nice artwork here of the robot mode and the vehicle mode here on the front. Then you have a nice bit of artwork of fully formed Bruticus here, although it's kind of funny to me that Swindle is kind of in shadow. So this is basically what mine looks like right now. Spinning it around to this side, you have your standard sliver of the Ring of Primes. Up top just says Combaticon Swindle. Not really much going on at the bottom. And then if we spin around to the back, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. And he does come with this extra little trailer piece, which turns into this giant cannon, which can technically mount onto his shoulder, but is really meant to be the large weapon for Bruticus. So very cool. I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead, get him out of the packaging here, and we're going to take a closer look. So here is Swindle out of the packaging. I think he looks great. I think they did a really nice job with him. Doesn't really have a ton of kibble. I mean, he does have these wheels in the back, and this area here is a little open, but not that big a deal. He does have the joint here for the ankle tilt for Bruticus. You can kind of see it moving a little bit more already there. A little bit of kibble here on the back of the forearms, which isn't great, but could be worse. I do really like what they did here with the front of the Jeep. I mean, this is pretty animation accurate, where you have like the front of the Jeep becoming the chest, and then they have the pins in the hips pretending to be the headlights of the Jeep, which I think is really fun. Legs look pretty good. Head sculpt is nice, really nice metallic purple there for the eyes, and kind of a dark gunmetal gray there for the face, which is accurate. That looks really nice. Nice metallic paint here for the windshield. Nice Decepticon symbol here on the front as well. Overall, I think he looks pretty great. He does come with some accessories. So we have his iconic shoulder cannon, which is nice. Typically, you would think that they'd make you peg it on the side here, which is what I feel like other versions in the past have done. And you can see it has this little tab that just tabs into this spot here. And you can see the chest is moving around a little bit there, which is a minor complaint that I have, but that doesn't really lock into place. But anyway, you can put the gun here on the shoulder if you like, but to be completely cartoon accurate, you can also attach it to the front of the arm, which is how he actually wields it. So you can have him pointing the gun forward, and that is exactly how it's supposed to look. That's where it's supposed to attach. I think that's really cool. I love that attention to detail. He does also come with the other tiny little missile, which if you want, you can have him hold in his hand. Or if you just want to store it somewhere, you can pop it over here on the side, and it will just kind of store there. He also comes with this little connection piece, which is going to be used for the vehicle mode, and it will peg in here for the vehicle mode, and you can just kind of store it there in the robot mode as well. So if you want somewhere to store those two accessories, you absolutely can, and he looks good. I love that cannon on the arm. I think that looks really sharp. Now, you can tell that this guy is definitely just a deluxe, but he was sold as a Voyager, and this is something they've started doing now, where whenever they have kind of legs of a combined form, if they're kind of doing heavy lifting like we saw with the Constructicons, they try to make these guys into Voyagers. Brawl was a Voyager. So to kind of justify the price point, they did give this extra little trailer. Now, I think it's kind of funny. You can see that hole there. There's supposed to be a pin in there, I would assume. Mine does not have one. It's not as big of a deal to make me return it, but it is kind of annoying that that was supposed to. I'm assuming there has to be a pin in there that would keep that in place, but mine's missing it. You can see right through. But this does rotate up and rotate down. So for the trailer mode, it's like this, and there's a little hitch that we'll get into for the vehicle mode, and this would just peg in, and he just pulls a little trailer. It's very tiny, but you can transform it into a cannon. So what we're going to do is unpeg these sections here on the side. First of all, we have to unpeg this because this is actually pegged into there. Then you can pull these out to the side. And then this kind of rotates around and comes up like this. And then this will fold back, and you can see that there's kind of like a little beveled area for that pin. And then they'll also peg in here. So there's this big tab on the side, which is going to tab into here. So you just tab that in, and now you have a cannon. And pull this down. This will be the main gun for Bruticus, which we'll show off a little bit later. but you can see that there's also some tabs here. So what you can do is if we take the shoulder cannon off and straighten this out, you can tab this in here and he can use it as a massive shoulder cannon, which is okay. I mean, I don't need him to have a massive shoulder cannon, but it's nice that they made it so that the robot mode can utilize it as well. But to me, this is just going to be Bruticus's gun. And I kind of wish, like, the original test shot showed it in full black. And I kind of wish it was, because I just think as a gun for Bruticus, it would be more uniform that way. I don't mind the wheels being back there. If it was all black, I feel like that would blend in. But the little bit of yellow here on the side, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. All right, I'm going to transform this back into trailer mode so we can see it with the vehicle. So we'll bring this to about here, and then this is going to lift up. And then you can bring this around like this and push this up so that these can come around. They'll tab into the side of the barrel, and then this will close down on top. And you can see I've got some little bit of plastic flashing. Okay, so there we go. We are back into the trailer mode, and this will come back later on. And for now, I'm going to just remove all of these accessories so we can go into the articulation. Head can look up pretty good, look down slightly. Technically, you can move the whole thing back. It's on this kind of hinge here, so there is like a ball joint for the head itself, which you can see right there. But then that hinge piece moves as well. So if for some reason you wanted it to look really far up, you could. But side-to-side movement, no problem there. Got a hinge and a rotation in the shoulder. Got a bicep swivel. Got double jointed elbows for the transformation. Wrist does not move. You have a waist swivel. You can kick pretty far forward. Can't really kick into the back that far because he's got these little seats for the Jeep mode on the back of his hips, and they're going to hit in there. You can kick out to the side pretty good. Got a thigh swivel there. Got 90 degrees in the knee. Got some nice ankle tilt. And they do have kind of a piece here so that if you don't go too far, it looks like it's a solid piece, which is nice. But you can go past that, pretty much 90 degrees there. Nothing really in like the toes. That doesn't really move at all. But yeah, overall, I like the articulation. I think the robot mode looks good. Definitely the best Swindle we've ever gotten. The one from Combiner Wars really didn't look like Swindle in my opinion, but it was the best we had at the time. He doesn't have a giant Combiner Wars port in the middle of his chest. So yeah, all in all, I really like the look of this Swindle. I think he looks pretty great. Swindle's always been a favorite character of mine. I think he's a lot of people's favorite just because of his personality. And yeah, they did a pretty good job here. And just for a little size comparison, here is a deluxe class Shrapnel. So you can see he really is a deluxe class being sold as a Voyager, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, yes, you get the trailer, but I don't know if that's really enough to substantiate. But he does feel pretty solid. I mean, like I said, with the exception of this little bit here in the chest and the back, he feels pretty solid and hefty. So I feel like a little bit more plastic, a little bit more engineering went into him for them to charge that Voyager price point. But he is size-wise about the size of a deluxe. So getting into Swindle's transformation, I think it's a pretty neat transformation. I like the way it's engineered. There is kind of an issue with the inside shoulder joint that we'll talk about. I've seen some other reviewers talk about it as well, and it's definitely a concern, but there's not really much we can do about it. We're going to start off by taking the chest plate here and just rotating that 180 degrees, like so. Then we will take the head and rotate that 180 degrees as well. Put the arms straight out to the back. And then we will open these shoulder panels out to the side. Now, the thing that I've seen people talk about, when you spin this around, it's very tight. And it definitely feels like maybe there's resistance and maybe something is breaking, and it does make me nervous. And I was trying to figure out how it's put together. And, if it was a mushroom peg or something, you would kind of feel it. And I feel like over time, if you were twisting it, it would not want to move, like it would give and go back the other way. From what I can tell, right here, you can see there's a metal pin. And so that's got to be what's going straight through and connecting into here. So I don't know, is it like, you know, the larger head of the metal pin goes through here. I'm not exactly sure how they do this, but it is kind of nerve-wracking when you're spinning this. But I'm hoping over time, if it's just a metal pin and it's just a thick piece of plastic around it, over time maybe that metal pin will kind of wear away some of the plastic and it might get a little easier to do. If it was like a mushroom peg or something, I feel like unfortunately you would feel it kind of twisting and resisting, and it wouldn't want to stay around, which it does stay around. I don't know. We'll see. But just be, I guess, ginger with it. You have to rotate this around 180 degrees, and it's really tight. And I'm really hoping it's just the metal pin being tight, but again, we'll see how it goes. Then you're going to take the arms and do them like that. And then there is a tab on the back of the forearm that will tab into this piece here. So you tab that in like so. Then you're going to take this little piece, kind of the grill piece here, and this is going to rotate around like that. So once again, we are going to rotate this. Then we're going to do the arms like that. Rotate the grill piece around to the front. And then we can bring these in, and the head actually becomes part of the front bumper, which I think is actually really neat. It's a neat idea that just kind of really seamlessly integrates. And then you're going to take the grill pieces and rotate them up to fill in this gap. So flip that around like that. So that's pretty cool. With the exception of the shoulders being a little nerve-wracking, I think that's a really neat way to do the transformation. Then we're going to rotate at the waist 180 degrees, and we are going to straighten out the ankle tilt. Flip these little pieces all the way forward just to kind of get them out of the way. Push that up. We're going to rotate. Sorry, hold on a sec. This will unhook this kind of shin piece, and then this will rotate all the way up like this. And then you can see this little piece here. Nope, I'm upside down again. This will rotate out to the side like so. This whole piece like this will rotate around like so. So do that on both sides. And there we go. We want to grab this little piece back, and that's going to peg in here. Whoops, or I could drop it. So we're going to peg that in like that. And then this is all going to combine right down the middle. And then these little flaps will come down. You can see that there's a little tab and a tab slot right there. So that will come down and tab in, and then this just kind of connects there. So bring this in as well, like that. Make sure these are all together. And then you can fold the little seats back and then just flip up the windshield. And there is Swindle in Jeep mode. You can take the cannon and peg that in there. And then you can take this, and there is a tiny little connection spot there, which will peg into the section right there. And there we go. So I think the Jeep mode actually looks pretty cool. I like the way this transforms. I feel like this is not fully connected here, but it does look pretty good. And I have the nice metallic paint for the windshield on both sides, so it can work for both vehicle mode and robot mode. And they have the little windshield wipers there. Again, really nice Decepticon symbol. That's the same piece from the chest earlier. Unfortunately, I wish this could move up and down. It can definitely move side to side, but it can't move up and down, which is kind of a bummer. You can move this around if you want. I mean, it might come unpegged, but if you wanted to kind of shoot someone behind him or something like that, you could move that around. But this unfortunately just spins side to side. But overall, I think it's a pretty cool looking Jeep. I like the little makeshift seats in there. It's kind of a nice touch. Rolls pretty well. You can see the little trailer hitch connector here. This will flip around like so. And then you can take this and pop this in. Now mine's going to probably, oh, there it goes. Okay. So you can see it's a very tiny little trailer. Like, it's very, very small. But it's all right. I would almost rather they had just nixed the trailer idea and just made a really nice, solid weapon to give to Bruticus. But it is what it is. But yeah, overall, I like the Jeep mode. I think it looks pretty good. I'll be interested to see what they try to do with this mold, if they have a repaint in mind or something like that. I'm glad they didn't try to make it Hound, because I feel like, you know, Hound is his own mold, and that's good. And I'm also glad that they didn't repaint Hound for this. I mean, obviously, it has to be a leg as well, so there has to be more engineering to go into it. But yeah, overall, pretty cool. I like them. All right, transforming this guy into a leg, we are going to remove the gun and put that off to the side. We are going to flip the seats again all the way forward. These little panels will flip up, and we will also flip these panels up from the side, like so. Then we will open up the legs, and then we are going to spin these pieces all the way around again, like we're going back to robot mode, like so. Then we are going to come back around to here and close these up, like that. Then we are going to kind of put this to about here and then flip this up to kind of make Bruticus's toes. So that will click into place, and click that one into place. And then you can peg this all together. At this point, we will bend this down like so, and then bend at the knees all the way back up like that. Then we can push this straight down, and that forms kind of the bulk of the leg. You can utilize that ankle. Well, actually, we have to move these parts out of the way. So we're going to unhook. Oops, first we have to open these up so we have clearance. Then we are going to flip these out to the side. The head is going to come all the way down. We are going to unhook the arms from the back panel like that, and then straighten them all the way out. And then we're going to just bend them at the elbow like this and kind of put these out to the side. So once again, unhook this all the way out to the side, bend this up at the elbow. Then we are going to rotate this back around like so, like that, and then bring these in like that. And now that should give us clearance to utilize that ankle joint. Yes. There we go. Actually, you shouldn't do that because those will get in the way, but you can utilize the ankle joint now. Push that back in. This should go like that. So we're going to put these kind of out to the side. And then we will bring in Bruticus. Well, Bruticus's leg for now. So we're going to take this and we're going to connect this in. And basically what we're going to do, you can see that there are two connection spots right there and there. That is for these tabs here. And then this part will kind of just go in between the legs. So you can kind of bring this down a little bit to make it easier. And then we're going to connect this all in. You can also see that there are two tabs right here and here, and those will tab in here and here. So just kind of line all that up and peg that all in like so. Make sure those arms are enough out of the way, not the shoulder part, just the arms. And then we're going to bring this in, and you can see that there's a big tab right here, which is going to peg in right there. So when we bring this up, that will tab into there. And then we're going to bring the arms in, and there's tabs right here, which will tab in right there. So this will come in, and I guess we have to move these back out of the way so that this can tab in like so. So we'll rotate this back around and tab this in. There we go. Wasn't in all the way. All right. And there is Swindle as Bruticus's right leg. And now here is our fully formed Bruticus with Swindle's leg attached. Looks pretty good. If you don't like this little piece here on the end, you can just take that off. It really doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and give him the larger gun as well. Peg that in there. So again, it's fine as a gun. I kind of wish he had a bigger gun that looked a little better, but I guess it'll do. But yeah, I think Swindle looks really great connected there. It works really well. They were still able to give it ankle tilt, which is cool. And this came unpegged. There we go. Get that back in there. Yeah, overall, really, really cool. I like the look of this guy. I like Swindle a lot. I think the robot mode looks great. I love that you can attach this cannon on his shoulder the way it's meant to be done per the cartoon. I feel like it's very cartoon accurate. Certainly an upgrade over the last Swindle we got back in Combiner Wars. Actually looks like, you know, how he transforms in the show. And it's always something that I thought was kind of difficult to achieve because the way they draw it is like the entire like hood of the Jeep. But then you also have, you know, the grill down here, and the way they use the pins to make the headlights, I think was really, really well done. So I definitely commend them for that. The little bit of kibble here on the back of the forearms isn't great, but I can live with it. The only thing I'm really worried about is the way those shoulders move. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure how it's attached. It looks like it's just a metal pin. So if that's the case, I'm hoping the metal pin won't break. I'm hoping it's just something that will maybe get a little bit, you know, if the friction kind of wears the plastic a little bit, it might get a little bit easier to move over time. We'll see how it goes. And then, of course, the combination with Bruticus is great. You know, finally having the full Bruticus there with all of his arms and legs is finally nice to have. So, yeah, overall, I like this guy a lot. I mean, he's definitely a deluxe at a Voyager price point, and I don't really feel like that extra little trailer piece is enough to substantiate that. But I think there's a reason they kept this guy for the end, because they wanted people to just say, okay, it's a little overpriced, but it completes my Bruticus, so I'll just deal with it. And it worked. And unfortunately, they got me again. So that's how Hasbro goes. But he's a fun Combaticon. Love to have the full team here. I think they did a really nice job. And definitely, if you have Bruticus so far, you're going to want Swindle. And yeah, like I said, he's a little overpriced, but I think ultimately you'll be happy with it, as long as he doesn't break over time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.